The Child Who Wore the Door. In the town of Hollowmere, no one knocked after sunset. Not on cottage doors, not on pantry doors, not even on the door of the privy if one was desperate enough. After sunset, every door in Hollowmere belonged to the guest. That was the first rule. The second rule was stranger. If something knocks, answer nothing. The third rule was the one children whispered into their pillows. If the door opens by itself, do not look to see who has come in. Hollowmere was built in a ring around a pond so black that stars refused to reflect in it. The town had 12 houses, one schoolroom, one baker who never sang, and a church with its door bricked shut. Every home had 7 locks, 3 iron bars, and a red line painted across the threshold. Once each year on Hearthnight, the townsfolk gathered before dusk and nailed a loaf of bread to every door. "Bread for the guest," they said. Then they locked themselves inside. The next morning, the bread was always gone. Sometimes a lock was gone too. Sometimes a tooth. Sometimes the memory of a dead person's voice. But this was considered a good year because the guest had not entered. No one in Hollowmere knew exactly what the guest was. The old people said it had been invited long ago by someone lonely. The children said it had too many elbows. The gravedigger said nothing at all, but he kept his doors lying flat on the ground because a door that did not stand could not open. Only one person in Hollowmere hated the rules more than she feared them. Her name was Isolde Fenn. She was 14, narrow-faced, bright-eyed, and fond of asking questions that made adults drop things. Her father was the town's locksmith. He made locks for every house in Hollowmere, which meant he lived by the sound of fear. Keys hung from his ceiling like metal rain. Iron filings glittered in his beard. He loved his daughter, but he loved shut doors too. "Curiosity," he told her, "is a hand reaching for a latch." "Then fear is the hand holding it closed," said Isolde. "And that is why fear keeps its fingers." Isolde's mother had vanished 5 years before. Not died, vanished. There was a difference in Hollowmere. Death left a body. The guest left a question. Her mother had disappeared on Hearthnight, though every door had been locked and barred. In the morning, her chair was empty, her sewing basket was overturned, and on the inside of the front door there were 4 words scratched into the wood. "I was let in." No one could explain it. Her father planed the words away. They came back. He painted over them. They bled through. He hung a rug over the door. Moths ate the rug into the shape of the words. So at last he removed the door entirely and burned it in the yard. For 3 nights, something in the ashes knocked. After that, he built a new door from black oak and fitted it with 13 locks. Isolde hated that door. Not because it was ugly, though it was. Not because it groaned in summer and wept sap in winter, though it did. She hated it because sometimes, when she passed it at night, she heard her mother breathing on the other side. Not outside, inside the wood. Hearthnight came early that year, with frost on the windows and crows standing on the roofs like judges. All day the town prepared. The baker made 12 loaves without salt. The The schoolteacher painted fresh red lines across every threshold. The gravedigger hammered his doors flatter. And Isolde's father made a new lock. It was small, silver and cruel-looking, with a keyhole as thin as a needle prick. "For our door?" Isolde asked. "For you," said her father. He held it out. Isolde stared at him. It was a necklace, a lock on a chain. "No," she said. "You are old enough." "Old enough for what?" "To be kept." She stepped back. "I'm not a cupboard." His face folded with pain. "No," he said softly. "You are my daughter, and I have already lost one person to an opened thing." Before she could run, he snapped the lock around her throat. It closed with a tiny click. Pain flashed under her chin, not enough to wound, enough to warn. Isolde clawed at the chain. "Take it off." "I cannot." "You made it." "I made it because I was told how." "By whom?" Her father looked toward the black oak door. The house seemed to listen. "By what was left of your mother." Isolde stopped struggling. Outside, the sun touched the edge of the trees. From every house came the sound of locks sliding shut. Her father lifted the Hearthnight loaf. It was pale and round and split down the middle, like a mouth trying not to speak. "I must nail the bread," he said. "Tell me what you mean." "After dark, answer nothing." "Father." "And whatever you hear," he said, "do not open yourself." Then he stepped outside. The door closed behind him. 13 locks turned on their own. Isolde stood in the hallway, breathing hard, the little silver lock cold against her throat. "Do not open yourself." What a horrible thing to say to a girl whose whole life had been locked from the outside. The house darkened. Her father returned just before the last light died. He checked every window. He covered every mirror. He sprinkled salt across the hearth. Then the two of them sat in the kitchen with one candle between them. Neither spoke. After a while, the first knock came. Not at their door, somewhere far off. Knock. Every muscle in Isolde's body tightened. A second knock answered from another street. Knock. Then another. Knock. Soon the whole town trembled with patient knocking, at every door, at every shutter, at every locked cupboard and stove mouth and cellar hatch. The guest was visiting Hollowmere. Isolde's father shut his eyes. The knocking moved closer, house by house, door by door, until at last it came to the black oak door. Knock. The candle flame bent sideways. Knock. The keys hanging from the ceiling turned slowly, as if following a passing face. Knock. Then silence. Isolde could hear her own blood. The loaf nailed outside tore softly. Chewing followed. Not wet, not animal. Careful, polite. The chewing stopped. A voice spoke through the door. "Good evening." It was her mother's voice. Isolde's father made a broken sound. The silver lock at Isolde's throat warmed. "Good evening," said the voice again. "I have come a long way." Her father covered his mouth. The voice sighed. "Won't someone ask me in?" Isolde rose. Her father seized her wrist. "It is not her." "How do you know?" "Because she would tell you not to answer." The voice laughed gently from the other side of the door. "I would never tell my daughter to be rude." Isolde's eyes filled with tears. She hated them for coming. She hated the door. She hated the locks. Most of all, she hated the small, traitorous part of her heart that leaned toward the voice like a dog toward a warm hand. "Ask me something only Mother knew," she said. Her father's grip tightened. "No." The voice behind the door hummed. "When you were 7, it said, you swallowed a plumstone and cried because you thought a tree would grow out of your mouth. I told you if it did, I would hang ribbons from your branches." Isolde went cold. Her father whispered, "It steals what grief leaves unattended." The door creaked. The locks held. "Ask me in, Isolde," said the voice. "There is so little of me left." The silver lock on Isolde's throat grew hotter. "What are you?" The voice changed, only a little, like a smile moving behind skin. "I am the guest. You took my mother. I was invited." "By whom?" Silence. Then the voice said, "Loneliness opened the first door. Hunger opened the second. Love opens all the rest." The locks began to twitch. 1, 2, 3. Her father sprang up and pressed both hands to the door. "Leave us!" "No host dismisses a guest unfed." "You have bread." "I have had bread." "You have locks." "I have eaten locks." "You have my wife." The thing behind the door paused. Then came a soft, thoughtful tapping. Not on the door, inside it. Tap, tap, tap. Her mother's voice whispered from the wood. "Isolde?" This voice was different, thinner, further away, real. Isolde stepped toward the hallway. Her father shook his head, weeping. The lock on Isolde's throat burned so hot, she smelled singed wool. "Isolde," whispered her mother, "it wears what it eats. It ate my way home." The black oak door bulged inward. The guest spoke again, no longer bothering to sound exactly human. "A poor arrangement. Your mother has a door in her, but no house. I have many houses, but no door of my own." The 4th lock snapped open, then the 5th. Isolde touched the silver lock at her throat. "What did you make this for?" she asked her father. He did not answer. The 6th lock opened. "Father?" He turned. His face was grey. "It wanted you," he said. "Not to eat. Not exactly." The 7th lock sprang apart. "It cannot enter a place unless invited," he whispered. "But a person can become an invitation." The 8th. "A person can become a door." Isolde understood then why the lock was around her throat. Not to keep the guest out, to keep Isolde closed. The 9th lock opened. From the other side of the door came a smell like rain on graves, warm milk, wet wool, and old promises. "Take it off. I cannot lose you. You already locked me away. To save you, "No," she said, "to save the quiet." That struck him harder than shouting would have. The 10th lock opened. The house exhaled. "Daughter," said the guest, "come here. Let me wear you. I will open every door. I will bring back every lost thing. Mothers, brothers, babies, songs, teeth, names, all the little beloved pieces grief has hidden under the floor." The 11th lock opened. The town outside began to cry out. Other doors were failing. Shutters banged. Someone screamed without stopping. The guest was not only at their house now. It was everywhere there was a closed thing, and someone desperate on the other side. The 12th lock opened. Only one remained. Isolde's father took the little key from beneath his tongue. It was no longer silver. It was red. He had been keeping it in his mouth all day. He held it out with shaking fingers. "I am sorry," he said. Isolde took it.